Hey everyone, and welcome to Genghis Khan International Airport. We arrived here from Germany aboard MIAT's new 787 Dreamliner, and we'll be catching a connecting flight with them to Seoul, South Korea. If you've been keeping up with my videos, then you'll know that I posted some vlogs covering my travels in Mongolia. But before I filmed that series, my wife and I actually flew to Seoul and spent New Year's there. The flight from Germany took about 7.5 hours, so we were pretty tired once we got off the plane. But thankfully the whole transit process in Mongolia was quick and easy, and I had enough time to grab a coffee before our next flight. This airport was constructed with the help of the Japanese government, and it was opened in 2021. It's a nice but small airport, and I was thankful that we only had about an hour layover. It's currently Mongolia's largest airport, and in 2023 it served about 1.7 million domestic and international passengers. It wasn't very crowded this morning, so we didn't have any trouble finding a place to sit and wait for boarding. Our flight to Seoul will be aboard one of MIAT's 737-800s. Currently they have 3 of these planes in their fleet, along with one 737 MAX 8. MIAT has an all-Boeing fleet and also operates a 767 in addition to their 787s and 737s, although their 767 is set to be retired soon. We were both pleasantly surprised by our flight here aboard MIAT's Dreamliner, and we're now curious on how our experience would compare aboard one of their narrow bodies. The business class cabin has 12 armchair-style seats in the front of the plane. I would have liked to have tried business class, but it was a little expensive, so I'm flying economy instead. There's 150 economy seats on this 737, and I'll be sitting in the back in 25A. The seats weren't the most attractive in the world, but they offered a good amount of legroom, spacious seat-back storage pockets, and a fairly big tray table. The seats also reclined, and I was happy to see that there were overhead reading lights and air vents. The whole boarding process was a bit chaotic on our last flight coming from Germany, but things went smoothly on this flight. Everyone took their seats without issue, and the flight attendants were happy to help store people's bags in the overhead bins. And a little bit later they handed out these earbuds to everyone.
Find the web 301 for those contracted with Korean Air KD5868. Our flight time to Seoul will be 2 hours and 35 minutes following takeoff. During your flight, our cabin crew will be happy to serve you in waiting.
This plane is almost 10 years old and has spent its entire life with MIAT. It's named after Guyuk Khan, who is the 3rd ruler of the Mongol Empire. MIAT names their planes after former Khans, which I think is a pretty cool tribute to Mongolian history. Mongolia is one of the coldest countries in the world, and this was filmed right at the end of December, so one thing that surprised me was that this plane wasn't de-iced before takeoff. It was well below freezing this morning, so you'd think we would have paid a visit to the de-icing truck. I'm not the most knowledgeable on this subject, so if you have more insight into how this works, let me know below. Shortly after reaching cruising altitude, the crew handed out gift bags to all the children on board. I thought this was a really nice gesture, although the little girl sitting next to us didn't really seem to care and was focused mainly on going back to sleep. And a little bit later, the crew came around again and handed out water and blankets to everyone. After we'd been in the air for about 40 minutes, the crew served lunch. I really wasn't expecting a meal since this was a relatively short flight, so this was a nice surprise. We had a choice between chicken or beef, and I decided to go with the chicken. Each dish came with a little salad, a dessert, and a bread roll. The chicken was really tasty, and I enjoyed the meal overall. It was way better than anything you'd get on a 3-hour flight in the US, and they also had a vegan meal for my wife. Once the crew cleared lunch away, I settled in for the rest of the flight. There were signs around the cabin saying that there was Wi-Fi, but I don't think it was turned on because there were no networks available when I checked. Next, I plugged in the headphones to see if there was any music playing, but all I got was static as I scrolled through the channels. This was only temporary though, and soon enough Mongolia's Got Talent was broadcast on the overhead monitors, and you could listen in on Channel 1. This wasn't really for me though, so I spent most of my time just looking out the window. We had a great time exploring Mongolia, and if you haven't done so yet, you might want to check out the travel vlogs that we posted. As we got closer to Korea, I took a trip to the lavatory. There were 2 lavatories in the economy cabin, and the flight attendants kept them nice and clean. And by the time I got back to my seat, we were getting ready to land. This 2.5-hour flight saw us fly down over Mongolia and then cross over China and the Yellow Sea before our approach into Seoul.
Welcome to Seoul. We have just landed at Incheon International Airport. The local time is now 10:37 in the morning and air temperature is 3 degrees Celsius.
This was a really nice flight, and we enjoyed both of our trips with MIAT. The crews were all nice and professional, the planes were comfortable, and the transit process in Ulaanbaatar was easy. You don't really hear much about MIAT, but that might change as they continue to expand and potentially launch flights to the US. So don't be afraid to book a flight with them if you happen to come across a good deal. I know that I'd be happy to travel with them again.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the national flight carrier MIAT Mongolian Airlines and Captain Dreamliner, we would like to thank you for joining us on this trip, and we are looking forward to seeing you on your next flight. And we wish you a pleasant stay here in Seoul, or please reach your final destination. Thank you and goodbye.
And that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.